Hello, I'm Kate, this is KRC, and I'm in Puerto Rico with Brock Pierce to discuss regulation. Brock, thank you for coming on today. Brock, what are your thoughts on regulation? I've heard that a lot of people are saying it's a barrier to mass adoption.
Well, regulation plays an important role in our world. Regulators generally have good intentions, and they're trying to protect consumers. They're trying to stop bad actors from doing bad things. So regulators are definitely not the enemy. I know that as entrepreneurs, though, you feel it's stifling innovation and it's making difficult. So I understand both arguments and the role of both parties in this case. It has an important role. It's not going anywhere. And so the most important thing that we can do as an industry is educate our regulators. The better educated they are, the more informed they are, the more sensible they will be in the decisions they make. Because we often fear that which we don't understand. So make sure that you have really well-educated regulators, and we will end up with better results.
I would certainly encourage an open dialogue with industry and government. A lot of people...
That's what I preach that.
Yeah, I think it's great. And tell me, a lot of people are saying that they'd prefer a self-regulating code of conduct viz. A regulatory framework for blockchain technologies and indeed digital assets. Do you have any thoughts on this matter?
I mean, as industry, self-regulation is always the best path. If you can police yourself sufficiently and successfully, you're not going to be over-regulated. And so every industry, as long as time, has always aspired to that. So yes, let's be the best actors we can. Let's be the best self-policers we can. Let's create the industry bodies, the boards, the discussions, the frameworks to encourage the best behavior from the ecosystem's participants. If we as an ecosystem can successfully keep the very bad actors out from doing the very bad things, from committing the bad scams and all the such, if we can protect consumers, if we can do these things successfully, we are less likely to deal with, call it bad regulation or over-regulation. So yes, I understand the role of regulators, and we as an industry will do better if we self-police.
Yeah, I think consumer protection is key and certainly the best interests of end users. Finally, one last question, Brock. Which jurisdiction is getting it right in your mind at this moment in time? A lot of countries are putting regulatory frameworks together. There's Malta, there's Gibraltar, there's the Chinese coming out with stuff, Taiwan. Japan has just announced it's going to have a self-regulating body. My jurisdiction, the UK, doesn't quite know what it's doing yet. In your mind, who's getting it right?
Well, it depends on a couple of things. Most importantly, where your business is, where you're building, where you operate from, things of that nature. So in the United States, Wyoming, for those businesses that have to be incorporated in the U.S., Wyoming is interesting. Vermont sounds like they're doing interesting things. I'm less familiar. Puerto Rico, because of incentives and other things, is also very interesting. Throughout the Caribbean, you've got Bermuda that's already passed laws, doing wonderful things.
Legislation, Loretta Joseph's work, absolutely.
Yeah. And Joseph Weinberg,
they're
so
great.
you've got also Barbados, you've got Antigua's doing things. Cayman has obviously done a lot. I don't know what they're doing today to further that. The Bahamas has things going on. In Latin America, Panama probably has some interesting things going on. Then as you move over towards Europe, you've obviously got Isle of Man. They took a big step backward. They were one of the early first movers, but I don't know what they're doing today. Jersey has some things going on. Gibraltar and Malta leading the way. Switzerland, Zug have obviously, as a very well-established large nation that with great, so I'll call it brand credibility, has obviously been a major pioneer. I want to give credit to the big nations when it's due. Then as you move over to, I guess down in Africa, maybe Mauritius, I'm not quite as familiar with jurisdictionally because I don't think anyone incorporates there. No offense intended. On the Asia side, obviously Korea's making progress. They're towards, I think, coming out with their ICO regulations. I think they're going to come out very favorable, in favor of innovation, in favor of economic stimulation. Japan has obviously been leading the way because of their horrible experience with Mt. Gox, but it's resulted in them becoming very informed.
Trailblazing themselves.
Yeah, no, it's and if I were them, I'd love the fact that the inventor of all of this, Satoshi Nakamoto, is a Japanese name.
There's a sweet irony in that.
They can take credit. They can say this was invented in our country, whether it was a pseudonym or not. That credit is there. Singapore has been doing good things. China, obviously, with a very China-centric focus, but China's obviously very up to speed. We're not an industry alone. We have lots of nations all over the world recognizing the power of this innovation, the power for positive impact. and their desires to participate. So we're fortunately blessed with lots of good jurisdictions, all trying to do good things. I would have never, if you had asked me a few years ago, would we be seeing this level of government support all over the world? I would have. This would have been the most unlikely end of the spectrum. It's an amazing thing to see.
Well,
Governments are they're acting in the best interest of their constituents. They're trying to make sure that they're participants in the new economy. They're trying to make sure that they have the best technology that brings efficiency. They care about financial inclusion and making lives better for their people. And I guess I'll close out on the last place in this case, which is the Philippines, which is where we're seeing the most market adoption, the greatest need, and all the stars seem to be aligned from government to central bank to incumbents. The Philippines is also extremely exciting.
Well, ending on the Philippines, what a fantastic world roundup. You do my job far better than me. I would just leave you with this thought that, as someone who's a regulatory policy expert and a lawyer, I'm always thinking, what does good look like? I personally am not sure if Malta's got it right, because the legislative framework is very close to its online gaming framework. I'm not sure if totally financial services is right. I think in an ideal world, a mixture of technology, payments, and financial services, plus a little bit of magic in the mix, could be the perfect regulatory framework. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get perfect anytime soon.
No, we won't.
And what we're getting is different jurisdictions, A/B testing, different approaches, some of which are specialization focused. If we know this, so we're going to, when everything looks like a hammer, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail kind of thing. Yeah. And that's okay, because we're going to learn from every one of these experiences. And fortunately, innovators of today do get to jurisdiction shop. They get to choose where they want to live. Globalization is changing our world. You get to choose where you want to incorporate, where you want to bring economic benefit. And the innovators of today that are going to create the world of tomorrow, are grateful for these, wonderful, we're grateful for the open doors that these nations are making, and whatever approach they're most comfortable with, which is all they should do.
Absolutely. Brock, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Brock Pierce, thank you so much. Stay tuned for further updates.